What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Life of Lee podcast. I know it has been a while, it's been a minute, and I've missed you guys. I hope you're good. I hope you're living your own lives the best you can. I am back in Scotland. The last episode I was in Canada. Um, fuck. The last episode I was in Canada, and I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I went to Canada for 6 months. I had a job hooked up, and then the job pretty much fell through almost immediately when I got there. So I had a couple of sketchy weeks where I didn't know really what was happening or what I was doing. But then, as per the life of Lee, some incredible synchronistic events happened that that ended up perpetuating into just an incredible experience. So yeah, I came back in January. There was a little bit of trouble getting back. It was not as easy coming back as it was going. In fact, I've got a clip. Yeah, I'll put that in now. So it's now June. It's the 10th of June. So this is going back to like the 15th of January. Yeah, so I'm in Amsterdam. I've been since yesterday. I was meant to be here for like 90 minutes. I had like a 2 hour layover, and by the time I get the trains and shit, I would have 90 minutes in the city. And I love Amsterdam, so I thought 90 minutes, I'll go in, go straight to Lost in Amsterdam, get a latte, try and get as high as I can, and then go home. It's now Wednesday, right? I've been trying to get home. I was meant to leave Canada on Saturday. I've been in Canada for 6 months. Had a great time, incredible trip. Coming home Saturday, was meant to fly from Winnipeg to Toronto, Toronto to Glasgow, done. Flight got cancelled. They rebooked me for one on Monday. This one flying from Winnipeg to Ottawa with a few hours to kill in Ottawa, and then Ottawa to Paris with a few hours to kill in Paris. Then Paris to Amsterdam with about just under 2 hours to kill in Amsterdam. And then I was meant to fly Amsterdam to Glasgow. I got to Amsterdam, came into the city, was just leaving, got a text to say my flight had been cancelled. They then wanted to book me on a flight the next morning, and they said they wanted to send me to Frankfurt, and then from Frankfurt to Glasgow. And I said, I didn't want to get on an extra plane, and I didn't want to go to an extra country. I've been in too many countries in the last fucking 72 hours. So they rebooked me on a flight to Edinburgh that was meant to leave this morning. They put me up in a hotel, had a great diner, they gave me like fucking vouchers and shit, it was pretty cool. And then last night, flight got cancelled, so I'm now flying out at like, it's like nearly 2, and I'm flying out at 4, and I'll touch down in Glasgow at around 4:30. And yeah, that's been my adventure. It's been wild. Yeah, so that was me coming back from Canada. I miss Amsterdam, I really fucking do. So last episode, I was just walking around showing you like Canada and stuff, and I didn't know what was happening. Not long after that, I went out training myself really randomly, because like me and Alan were going out training most of the time, and this day I think he was waiting in like his ex to pick up the dog, and she was meant to be here but then she was later or something, so I hung on for a while, and then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go out training myself. Here's where I'm going to be if you want to come out, blah blah blah. So I went out training to this great spot, and I hadn't been there long. I was just getting warmed up, and this guy was randomly walking past, and he seen me, and we started chatting, and it turns out he comes from a really wealthy family. They own like sports teams and shit, and we got on really well, and we started hanging out, and he introduced me to a doctor who was a surgeon and gynecologist, and she ran a medical aesthetics clinic, really high end luxury fucking clinic. And he introduced me to her, and she ended up giving me a job as office manager in this clinic, which the job I was meant to be doing was working in a metal factory, like steel toe cap boots, high vis, fucking coming home dirty, greasy, that kind of shit. The job I ended up doing, I was working like basically behind the front desk, really high end aesthetics clinic. I was office manager working with two, three girls up front that were just incredibly professional. Like they knew exactly what they were doing. Me being a manager was such a fucking joke. But this job was incredible. The clinic itself was so nice. I just felt so great. Like the clinic was 5 kilometers away from the apartment, and for the first like 6 weeks when it was still nice, I was getting up in the morning, walking in the 5k, big smile on my face, just so happy, stopping off for breakfast and just taking my time strolling in. And then I'll go in, say hi to everyone that worked there, from the girls at the front desk, the nurses, the clinic managers, the owner. Everyone was so nice, like just so incredibly nice. All, maybe not all of the clients, 99.5% of the clients were incredible. And my job was just like taking bookings, building rapport with clients, taking deliveries, arranging stock, all this kind of stuff, and drinking. I'm a certified coffee drinker now. I didn't really start drinking coffee till I was in Canada, and now I drink coffee every day, and the coffee in this place was exceptional. I was getting paid great money. I was like attending events. I was hanging out with people in work outside of the place. Um, Ended up hanging around with a guy that I met that like introduced me to people that got the job. Ended up moving out of Alan's apartment for a while and moved into his house for a while he was in Europe. I stayed with his housemate who was fucking awesome, just a straight up laid back, chilled out Canadian potted that was fucking brilliant. And I just had all these great little adventures and moments, and I was in my fucking element. I was literally living my best life. I can't even tell you, like thinking back, it feels like so long ago now, but it felt like I was there for so long as well. It felt like I was there for so much longer than 6 weeks. I just integrated myself into this place fully from day fucking one, and I had such a good fucking time. And it's a place like I've not traveled the world, but I've traveled enough places, and whenever I do try and go to a place, I do try and like integ- integrate myself as much as possible into like the local culture and the aesthetic, and just see what it's like. And I love people in most parts of the world, but the people here, Canada in general, but Winnipeg specific. I think this is why I've not done an episode in a while. I've lost the ability for long form conversation with myself, apparently. Because that's all this is. Like, you might be sitting there like, oh, I'm watching a podcast, but for me, this is just long form conversation with myself. But it's really therapeutic and cathartic. Um, so yeah, Canada, man, fuck me, just so many little moments. I met a raccoon. I met two raccoons. That was a real Disney moment. I just got to go to some cool places, meet some incredible people. Had a couple of tremendous mushroom trips. I had one mushroom trip which, uh, whatever the opposite of tremendous was, that's what this mushroom trip was. That was on Christmas Day. That one will always stick in my memory. I need to do an episode on it because it changed a lot of my perspectives on psychedelics. And yeah, it was a hard trip. That took some time to put the pieces back together, but there was extenuating circumstances, and even though it was pretty difficult, I did still get to work out a lot of stuff, and it ultimately was still a really good trip. And just a trip in general, like I was earning good money, I was buying random shit, I got a bunch of new clothes, I was just fucking, I'd moved, like, when I moved over there, I thought like, oh yeah, me and Alan will, we'll be running shit, we'll be out training, we'll be hitting bars and stuff, and we did that. But then for me to meet other people to the point where like I moved out of Alan's for a while and moved into this other place and had a whole new routine, going to work from a different part of the city and coming back, and it was just I couldn't have I literally couldn't have envisioned what ended up happening. Like I thought I was gonna go over for a good trip, but what ended up happening was above and beyond what I would have considered a possibility for happening. Just the people I met, the like I get into a relationship with someone that was way above my pay grade. But it was great, you know what I mean? It was a real ego boost for me. Don't get me wrong, she was going through her own stuff, and I think as fucking usual, I just arrived in her life at the right time. Or we both synced up with each other at the right time. But yeah, it was quite a wild relationship, and I suppose it ended exactly the way it had to end, you know. But yeah, coming back here after that, it was like I'd built up a lot of steam. I was feeling good. It kind of knocked down a little bit just before I left, just with some stuff that happened. But coming back here, like I heard a quote once: "A mind has been stretched by experience; it can't go back to its previous dimensions." And being there for 6 months and being not so far removed from who I was here, but just being an evolved version of myself, to come back here and initially when I came back, I did feel different. I still felt some of that Canadian fucking version of me was here and it was ready to see things in a different light and make some changes and stuff. But over the prevailing weeks and months, I kind of have settled back down into my old dimensions. Not settled into them, but I've been confined into my old dimensions, but with this other perspective of knowing that how things can be different. Like I was hanging out with millionaires in like fucking $6 million condos and nice houses and fucking mansions and shit, and I'm hanging out with heads of finance at places and just getting taken to these different like really nice restaurants and getting introduced as office manager. And I went to this wedding of like this singer who's like fucking awesome and shit, and her husband was awesome, and the venue was awesome, and I met great people. One of them actually died when I was there. Like I met this dude, fucking awesome. He was a doctor. He was a pathologist. One of the most loved people I have ever met in my life. Everybody loved this dude. His name was Paul, and I met him once that night at the wedding, and we had such a great time. Like he was instrumental in just some great shenanigans that happened. It was such a good night, man. And then like maybe 2 months after that, he died. He just fucking died, man, and it was crazy to just meet someone and have him die, and that's because obviously it's from my perspective. Like for me, that was a 6 months window, and to have something like that happen within it, amongst all this other crazy stuff, it was just weird, man. But yeah, I just had as much as so much great stuff happened, I had such a great time doing absolutely nothing. See, just going out and walking around the city, just seeing stuff, interacting with people. Um, almost like I couldn't smoke in the apartment, so I was constantly going out for doobies and just going little walks around the block and going this way and then going that way and going this, just mixing it up. And almost every time I left that apartment, I would have an interaction with someone, be it a completely batshit crazy homeless person or a genuinely nice person or just a smile or just, just interactions with people. When I left, like there was two stores. There was one in front of the apartment and one behind. And I went to the one in front more regularly, and they started selling weed, and it was like literally 6 steps away from the apartment. It was fucking incredible. But the one behind the apartment, they were kind of like cooler dudes, and I got on with everybody. But then when I told the ones in the apartment behind that I was leaving, they were so like fucking like it affected them, which affected me. Do you know what I mean? Like they did. It was so. nice. He just started looking around. He's like, oh, and there was a box like it was like packs of cookies, but there was something else that I can't remember what it was. And he's like, whatever you want from this box, take from free, take for free. I'm like, I'll grab a pack of cookies, cheers, brother. But stuff like that, like just because I said he was gone, he was like, oh man, I have to give this guy, something to take with him and that. And you don't really get that over here as much, you know what I mean? So yeah, being there and meeting the people that I met, like I still speak to most of the people that I worked with at the clinic. They were all fucking so nice. And yeah, it was just a different seeing, a different way of living where there was very little judgment. I noticed that like, there was so many people just what they were wearing, what they were doing, how they were just out living their life, and people just accepted it and moved on. Over here, there would be like fingers pointed and because everyone's very similar and cliquey here and what have you. But over there, it was just so everyone was just so much more open and willing to connect. Yeah, I cannot wait to go back. I'm definitely going back there, and I can't wait to do it. So yeah, I'm back here now. I've been back here 5 months, and like I say, old dimensions. I'm working in a place. I'm working in a warehouse, literally just moving cakes around. I've got a little handheld scanner, and I get a pallet truck and a pallet, and I go around up and down aisles. Tells me 17 of these cakes. I put on 17 of these cakes. Good. Sometimes I don't put on 17, sometimes it says 17, I'm hitting 15, sometimes 19. I really don't. Like, it's been so hard to quantify just how little I care about this job and to actually still show up and do it to an acceptable level every day. I don't give a fuck, man. Like, honestly, this is my 65th job, and I've ran out of fucks to give for this kind of position. And it's always just for me, it's like, don't get me wrong, there's people in here that, like, most of the people in here seem to love the job and they really care about it, and they know, like, where every cake is, and they know what deliveries are coming in and what needs done and when this needs to go and all this kind of shit. And I just don't give a fuck. They ain't giving out any medals in here. Do you know what I mean? You can go in and you can do the job, or you can go in and like get involved in the job. And I just refuse at this point in my life. I refuse to get involved in a job like this. Might sound arrogant. I don't give a fuck. I've had too many experiences. If you've watched the podcast, like I've travelled to interdimensional realities. I've met fucking interdimensional higher evolutionary beings from other astral planes, and to go in and put on a high vis vest and move cakes around for like minimum wage, I'm fucking done with it. I'm so done with it. And it's 12-hour shifts and 12 hours of just walking around like listening to these. Just I'm not gonna ruminate on it. I'm not gonna lament on it. I'm just saying I'm done with it. And that also segues into like I'm about to launch a whole bunch of other shit to try and have a more monetizable social media presence. But that's going to be separate from the podcast, although I might tie in at some point. But I'm more than ready now, and I'm more than I'm more than ready. I'm more than prepared. I'm more than fucking. I have everything that I need to do what I'm about to do. And it's. I know other people that do it and they're successful from it and they make money from it. This is. In the last couple of weeks, I have really put a lot of thought into exactly what I want from life. And I've been brutally honest with myself. Like, I love acting. I love getting to do fucking cool fight scenes or shootouts or fucking say cool shit or whatever the fuck. And I love it, I do, but you still need to like land roles, you still need to book shit, you still need to travel fucking to the gig, you still need to spend long ass hours on set for just like 10 seconds of cool footage and what have you. And I love it, but there is still a big aspect of work to it, and obviously the 9 to 5 thing ain't fucking doing it for me. and I was trying to be really honest of just what it is I genuinely love to do, and it is to travel, to meet new people, to interact with them in the way that only I can, and to inspire them in some kind of way. Like I went out training today is Monday, and I went out training on Friday for the first time in a long time. I've had some trepidation to going out training, some anxiety towards it. I just feel like I'm getting older. And I tried to say this to my buddy, and he's like, "No, mate, you're still in good physical shape. You can still fucking." And it's not the physicality of it; it's the literal like. I'm nearly 40 years old, and like I'm going and like climbing and jumping off walls and stuff. It just looks a wee bit like to me. I fucking love it still. Like I genuinely love it, and that's what I rediscovered the other night. Like I fucking love this shit. But I did have this kind of anxiety to just like, oh, but people might see me and shit like that. But that's what I realised. Like that's people should be seeing me doing this stuff, especially at my age. That's part of the inspiration that I want to impart onto the world. And I ended up meeting this group of kids. There was like 6 or 7 of them, and they came over and they were all so nice. They were so respectful and so. I think they'd seen parkour and they'd maybe seen people like do it before, but just not to my kind of level. But to see it in real life, to see me like doing flips and wall flips and shit, they were just so on board. And like I say, they were almost looking at me with a little bit of awe. Do you know what I mean? And it's a great thing. It really is. Sometimes you encounter kids in the street and they're wee fucking dicks, but these kids were genuinely like on board. Like, oh, what are you doing? And they were just so infused. And like I let one of them, because I'd been filming stuff with a tripod, but I says to one of them, "Do you want to film this and like move it around and get a more dynamic kind of shot?" And I've known this before. Like, if you get whenever you're working with kids, if you get them involved, then they're going to be more into what's happening. Do you know what I mean? They're less likely to fuck around, and if you actually give them like a task, and as soon as I asked this one, Jack, his name was, if he could film, like he took his posture changed and stuff, and he took like a more senior, a level, a role of more seniority over the other ones, if you know what I mean. He was like, right, stand back, guys. I'm filming, blah blah blah. And it was just such a great interaction, and that's what reminded me, like, this is what I do. Like, I go out into the world, and I change people's everyday life. I change the status quo. I show them stuff. I tell stories. I just am me, and I do it in such a way that usually it inspires people in the most random of fucking ways. I was hanging out with a dude a while back, and I wear a lot of white, like t-shirts and stuff. And one day he commented on this, and I was just like, I just like white t-shirts. He's like, I never really wear white t-shirts. And that was it. That was the end of the conversation. But then, like the next week, I seen him again, and he was wearing a white t-shirt. And he was like, "Hey, check it." He was like, and he was like all proud of himself. Like, and that's how I inspire people in weird ways. Like, I met a guy in Canada. We were out at this Italian restaurant, and it was like a regular thing for the people that were there. And I was there, and I was eating pizza, and had a couple of Corona, and they always drink wine. It's like a bunch of parents, and they always drink wine and they eat Italian while their kids are at art class. And the dude was looking at me with my Corona. He's like, "Oh, that looks so good." I was like, "Go get yourself one." He's like, I'm on the. He reminded me so much of Mark Norman, the comedian. If you don't know who that is, go check him out. He's fucking hilarious. But yeah, he was like, nah, everyone drinks wine, so I drink wine, blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, I fucking drink Corona wherever I go. Do you know what I mean? I don't really drink that much, but if I do, sorry, I'm drinking a Corona. So a couple of weeks after that, or maybe the next week, I wasn't there, but the woman that introduced me to the group, she says that the dude was there and he had a Corona. He ordered a Corona and he said he fucking loved it, and he said to like pass it on to me. And it's just little things like that. Like, it might be trivial, it might be insignificant, but it's really not. It's really not. And this is stuff that I do accidentally or not on purpose. But now I actually genuinely want to make a commitment to making this my job, my vocation. I think life coach has just been too fucking, that sponge has been squeezed to fuck in these last few years, and it's just the term life coach. I don't really like the connotations it associates it with. Like, I was talking to my friend about it, and he felt the same way. There's just a certain just a certain feeling and attitude towards the whole life coach kind of thing that I want to try and avoid, but also be in the same vein as that. But like, I don't know how to do it, but I know that I'm going to do it, and I know that it's going to fall into place, because I know that this is something that I already do naturally. So now I just need to bring it to the forefront, monetize it in some way, and make my work something that actually brings me joy. Like, that's what I need to do to wake up in the morning. I've been struggling to wake up lately and to just, you know, head down and keep on with it, keep on trucking. I've really been fucking struggling, but this is something that I can do every day. This isn't something that I need to get cast for, or something that I need to audition, or something that I need to go and fucking study and get a qualification in, or whatever the fuck. This is something that I can do because I know I've already done it time and time again. I just need to isolate whatever it is within me that is able to do that, and then extrapolate it to a point where I can make a product out of it, essentially. And that's going to tie into a lot of different stuff. It already ties into a lot of stuff that I do and a lot of stuff that I've done. So yeah, I don't know how the energy's been in this episode. I think it started off higher and I've kind of sunken lower, but it's been a while. But this is something I want to get back on, because there's maybe some podcast opportunities coming up, but they're only really there if I have a podcast. And there's also people that I really want to get on the podcast. Connor, especially, I don't know if you're watching. I don't know if anybody's still watching. If you are still watching, sound off down below. Please like the video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. A lot more stuff coming. Get me on Instagram, Life of Lee with underscores and 3 E's. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's like half an hour. Let me check though. Oh no, it's only 25 minutes. We still get some time. Yeah, I'm about to do stand up again, and I think I'm gonna do a whole episode on it, like more like a vlog kind of episode. I'll just film myself going in over to Edinburgh and what I do throughout the day, and then go and do stand up again. This set, the first time I'd done stand up, the set it was alright. It was a story about me smoking weed and quitting smoking weed, and it was just a story with like good punchlines throughout it. And I'd say 80% of the stuff landed, and landed like good, but there was a couple of lines that that didn't land, and I was also, my delivery was way too quick. I got up and I started machine gunning through the things, so I definitely need to slow down. There was, and I need to shout him out, there was one guy, white guy, kind of heavy set, and he had an afro and clear pothead, and this guy was hee-hawing laughter at every single thing that I said. And this dude was definitely, there was times when the crowd, I think they were more just laughing at him than they were laughing at my actual lines. They were laughing at him, his laughter, laughing at me, then, you know. But so yeah, the set that I've wrote now, I think it's much more accessible and mainstream to everyone, and I think it should be a good set. I'm definitely nervous, not as nervous as I was before going into it, and also now, because I've already done it, I know what to expect on stage, because a lot of that kind of caught me by surprise. I've heard comedians talk about like bright lights and stuff, but when you're on that stage, the lights are really bright and you can barely see people. They're just like shadowy outlines, and how comedians go up and do crowd work is fucking beyond me, especially in venues like that. But it was an incredible experience doing it the first time, and the fact that, like, I just went over and did it myself was kind of cool. This time I'd like someone else to be there, just because I do want to film it. But even just going over myself again, will be good. And yeah, I've not really been applying for any acting stuff lately, because I need to be in the position to make a commitment to it, and I don't really know what I'm doing because I definitely want to travel again and go somewhere else. And hopefully, with this next venture that I'm about to kick off, which is like a bunch of little ventures in one big venture, we're talking like Russian dolls of ventures here. Hopefully, that should kick off quickly and enable me to just do exactly what I want. Like what I want to do, I can do it from anywhere in the world, anytime in the world. I just need it to pick up enough to give me the resources to go anywhere in the world. And like I've got a couple of good friends who live in different places, and I can go and visit them for a little while and move around and meet people and get more stories and more experience, which just gives me more that I can then give back. Um, and that's what, like, I definitely feel there's so many people that are trapped and will remain trapped in the experience that they're living, whether they know it or not. I don't want to call it the Matrix because, again, that's another phrase that is just getting its neck wrung at this time. But there's a lot of people that just, from birth, they were just told what to do, where to go, how your life should be, and they've just fallen into that pattern, and that's where they're going to be. They can't escape it because they've got bills, so they can't leave the job, and they're just going to stay there. But me, I am so fucking lucky that I've been able to break a lot of those constraints, not in the way a lot of people are doing it by making loads of money and just fucking they don't have a lot of regular everyday problems. The way I've went about it is a much more um, destructive way of doing it, and a much more like fuck it, I'll just stomp my own path and I'll figure it out as I go. But regardless, it has left me free to be able to go wherever I want and do whatever I want. I now just need to fucking do it. You know what I mean? But yeah, that should be about half an hour there. If you are still watching, thank you very much. I will be back with regular episodes, and I'll let you know about this other thing so if you can support that. That would be great. And yeah, I've got a couple of episodes coming up. One, I need to talk about psychedelics because I made a boo-boo Christmas Day 2023. That was a rough fucking trip. I'll tell you all about it probably next episode. And I've got some plans for some other episodes as well. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.